Coach Nick, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, the one and only
Deborah Face, your face for real estate.
And it's another wonderful episode of Real Deal Property Sharks. And in today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive into the IRS 1031 like-kind exchange exemption, which we're going to try to explain what that is. And we're going to see the pros and cons of its existence. And we're also going to address the fact that some politicians are thinking about getting rid of it and why they want to get rid of it. And so that's basically what we're going to go over with. What do you think about that, Deb?
Well, Nick, there is a lot to it, and there are a lot of pros and cons, like you said. So I'd be curious what our viewers actually think about what's going on once they hear a little bit more about it. Let us know, Nick, what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Peeps, comment in the comment sections after we tell you a little bit about what the 1031 like-kind exchange is and what this whole conversation is about getting rid of it and why it should be gotten rid of. Okay, so let's begin with the history of the 1031 like-kind exchange. It was actually a law that was passed in 1921. It's part of the Internal Revenue Code, and what it basically does is it allows real estate investors of all sizes and shapes to basically be able to transfer from one property to another property and defer any taxes on any appreciation that occurred on the first property. And I'm going to give you an example of how that works in about a second. But that's the gist of how it works. What do you think about that, Deb?
I think that's great. I mean, like I said, there's a lot to it. Can you give us an example so that the viewers really understand what you're talking about?
Absolutely. So, Deb, first of all, let's go on the record. Neither Deborah or myself are accountants, so we're not experts in 1031 exchanges, but Deborah's a real estate agent, and I'm a real estate agent in New York, real estate broker in New York, and we have a basic understanding of how the 1031 exchange works. So I'm going to give you an example of how it works and what this whole conversation is about, getting rid of it, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's say, for example, you purchase a multifamily house as an investment, and when you buy it for $1 million. That is called your basis. That's what you're into it for. You're into it for $1 million. Let's say a couple of years later, the property appreciates in value and now is worth $1.5 million, and someone is willing to purchase it from you for $1.5 million. Well, if you turn around and sell it for $1.5 million, you're going to have a capital gains, in other words, appreciation on the property, of the difference between the sales price of $1.5 million and your acquisition price or your basis, which is $1 million, and that amount would be the $500,000 difference. And that would be your appreciation or your capital gains, and you would be taxed based on whatever your tax rate is on that appreciation of $500,000. Okay, so that's how things would work without a 1031 like-kind exchange. If you opt to use the IRS Section 1031, Deborah, okay, and you look to move your assets from one investment property to another investment property, and when we say a like-kind exchange, it's basically a property that's an investment property or a business property, right? So if you sell a property in that example where we said it appreciated to $1.5 million, and then you look at another property which is worth $1.5 million or more, what ends up happening is there's a mechanism in place that says, hey, the money's not really being realized. It's being rolled over into another property. So we're not going to tax you at this point because you're not really realizing that $500,000 in increased value. It's just being rolled over. And in essence, the taxes are being deferred. So this law, Debbie, has been around since 1921. Pretty old law. What do you think about that?
Yeah, 1921. That's a long time ago. So, crazy, isn't it?
So anyway, what's going on now is there are certain people that feel that that law should be repealed. So, it's a pretty lengthy old law that's been around for quite a while. They feel that people should be taxed immediately upon the sale of the property. And that's going to have repercussions one way or another. The argument is that these monies can be used, these monies that are not being taxed right away can be used for other projects and things of that nature. That's what some people are arguing. And then what other people are arguing is, hey, if you turn around and actually you don't allow for a 1031 like-kind exchange, there's going to be less people selling properties, and as a result, you're going to have less commerce, and as a result, you're going to have less money exchanging hands, and it potentially could cause issues with the economy. So that's basically the gist of the issues with the 1031 like-kind exchange getting wiped out. Some people are for it, some people are against it, and it also interacts with the question of capital gains tax, which deals with any appreciation on an asset, whether it's real estate or if it's stock or things of that nature. As it stands right now, my understanding, Deborah, is that the tax code with the capital gains basically allows for the appreciation to be taxed at an amount lower than the personal income tax. And what some people want to do is they want to tax those funds at the individual's personal income tax level rather than the discounted taxes that are being charged with capital gains. So they're kind of like interrelated topics, and we really want to know what you think. Do you think that it's a great idea to get rid of the tax and utilize the assets, the tax exemption, and utilize those assets for projects that can, in some people's eyes, benefit society? Or do you feel that it's better to keep that so that commerce can keep on, moving along, as some people might think, and you could have more transactions and have a better situation economically, as other people, some people would argue. We want to know what you think, and I know this is a different type of show, Deborah, right? But we really want to have this discussion with people because we think it's important for people to realize that these laws exist and they might be changed, and there may be something good or bad that comes from it, and we want to make you aware of it. All right, so it's Coach Nick and the one and only
Deborah Face, your face for real estate.
And this is another great episode of Real Deal Property Sharks, and we love you, and we are out of here.